The night was silent, but the grand mansion of billionaire Mr. Adrian Cole looked alive. Soft music played in the background. Empty glasses, half-eaten food, and golden lights showed that a big party had just ended. Inside the living room, Mr. Adrian sat alone on the floor. His head rested against the couch, his shirt half open, a wine bottle beside him. His face looked pale, his eyes half closed. He looked drunk, almost unconscious. The camera slowly moved closer. His expensive Rolex watch glimmered under the chandelier light. Beside him was his wallet, filled with thick bundles of cash and credit cards. On the table lay a diamond ring shining brightly. Everything screamed rich. But the question was, where was everyone? He whispered softly to himself, "Let's see. Who truly cares?" Then he closed his eyes, pretending to pass out completely. The suspense begins 10 minutes later. The first person walked in, Sophia, his business assistant. She was smart, confident, and always dressed perfectly. Seeing her boss on the floor, she gasped. "Oh my God, Mr. Adrian. What happened?" she said, running to him. She shook his shoulder gently. No answer. He stayed still. Sophia looked around. Her eyes stopped on the wallet. For a few seconds, she stared at it. Then, slowly, she picked it up. She opened it, saw the money, and smiled. "Nobody will know," she whispered. She took a few bundles of cash and slipped them into her purse. Then she noticed the credit card, his main business card. She took that too. Before leaving, she looked back once more and said quietly, "You should learn to trust better, boss." Then she walked out. Behind the curtain, a hidden camera blinked with a red light. It had recorded everything. The second arrival, half an hour later, the door opened again. This time it was Emily, a famous social media influencer and one of Adrian's close friends. She entered wearing a fancy dress, holding her phone. When she saw Adrian on the floor, she quickly took out her phone and started recording. "Guys," she whispered into the camera, "I think my billionaire friend is super drunk again. Look at this." She laughed softly, fixing her hair. Then she placed the phone down and looked at the diamond ring on the table. Her eyes sparkled. She picked it up, trying it on her finger. It fit perfectly. "Looks good on me," she said to herself with a smile. Then she placed it in her purse and left the room, without even checking if he was okay. The camera caught everything again. The quiet house, 2 hours passed. The lights in the mansion dimmed. Outside, the wind blew softly. Everyone had gone home, and the house felt empty. Mr. Adrian still lay there, eyes closed, pretending to sleep. But deep inside he was awake, listening. In his mind he thought, 2 down. 1 left. He was tired. Not because of the act, but because his heart already knew what the results might be. Then came soft footsteps. Slow, careful, almost shy. It was Mia, the maid. She had been cleaning the kitchen. When she noticed her boss still in the living room, she came closer. "Sir," she said softly. "Are you okay?" No answer. She knelt beside him, checking his breathing. Her hands trembled. She smelled the wine, saw the bottle, and shook her head sadly. "Oh no, not again," she whispered. She gently lifted his head and placed a small cushion under it. Then she went to bring a blanket and a glass of water. When she returned, she covered him carefully. She touched his forehead and sighed. "You work too much, sir. Please rest," she said quietly. Then she sat beside him, waiting, making sure he was fine. The camera zoomed in on her worried face, full of kindness, in that silence. Her heart spoke louder than words, and for the first time that night, Mr. Adrian's lips curved slightly into a smile. The test had just begun. Asterisk. The morning sun rose slowly over the city. Golden light touched the windows of Adrian's huge mansion. Inside, the rooms were quiet, except for the soft ticking of the clock. Mr. Adrian Cole sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the floor. His face looked calm, but his eyes told a different story, a story of disappointment. He had seen everything from last night. The hidden cameras had captured the truth, every moment, every action, every word. Sophia's greed, Emily's selfishness, and Mia's kindness. But this test, did not come from nowhere. It came from pain. Deep, old pain that he had carried for years. A lonely heart. Adrian was one of the richest men in the country. People called him the genius investor. He owned companies, hotels, and even an island. But behind that success was a man who was tired of being used. Money had brought him fame, but not peace. Wherever he went, people smiled, but he could always see the hunger in their eyes. Hunger for his money, not his heart. He remembered his ex-fiancée Lara, the woman he once thought was his soulmate. She had told him she loved him more than anything. But one evening, he found out she was secretly meeting one of his business rivals. When he confronted her, she simply said, "You'll be fine, Adrian. You have everything. Money, name, power. What else do you need?" And then she left, just like that. That day, something inside him broke. He stopped believing in love, in kindness, in loyalty. The idea of the test-it was his old friend Mr. Raymond, who once said to him, "You can only know a person when you have nothing to give." That sentence stayed with Adrian. Months later, while sitting in his office, he decided to do something crazy to test the truth himself. He wanted to know if there was even one person in his life who cared for him. Not for his money. He picked 3 women, not randomly, but with reason. Sophia, his business assistant, had been with him for 3 years. Smart, confident, and always talking about success. She often said, "One day, I'll be rich like you." Adrian respected her, but sometimes her words felt sharp. Emily, the influencer, was part of his social circle. She loved luxury parties and often said, "Life is short, spend money, and shine." Adrian liked her energy, but he wondered if she would stay with him if he lost everything. And then there was Mia, the maid. Quiet, simple, always respectful. She never asked for a raise, never complained, never expected anything. She was the only one who greeted him with real warmth every morning. So he planned his test. He would pretend to be drunk and helpless, just to see what they would do when they thought no one was watching. The setup for weeks. He prepared. He installed hidden cameras in the living room and near the entrance. He told his staff he was having a small celebration. When the night came, he played his role perfectly. The smell of wine, the messy table, his tired eyes, everything looked real. And then he waited. He didn't expect much. Maybe some fake sympathy, maybe some stolen glances. But what he saw was worse than he imagined. Sophia's greed shocked him. Emily's laughter hurt him. But Mia's care, her small act of kindness, touched something inside his heart that he thought was dead. The next morning now, sitting in his quiet room, Adrian opened his laptop and replayed the footage. He watched Sophia pocket his money. He watched Emily take his ring. Then, he watched Mia kneel beside him, her eyes full of worry. He paused the video. For the first time in years, he smiled, a real, gentle smile. "Mia," he whispered, "you don't even know how much you've done." He decided the next day he would call all 3 of them. He would reveal the truth not to punish, but to show what real character looks like. The test was over, but the lesson was about to begin. And for Adrian Cole, the richest man in the city, the real wealth he was about to discover had nothing to do with money. The next morning came with soft rain. Drops tapped gently on the glass windows of the skyscraper where Adrian Cole's office stood tall, clean, and cold. Inside, everyone worked quietly, typing fast, answering phones, and pretending to look busy. But Adrian was in his private cabin, watching something that no one else could see, the recording from last night. Sophia's face filled the screen, her elegant smile, her calm voice, and then that single moment when her hand reached for his wallet. He watched it 3 times. Each time it hurt more, he whispered, 3 years. "And this is what I meant to you." Then he leaned back in his chair, closed his laptop, and sighed. It was time to continue the test. Sophia's ambition. Sophia entered the office a few hours later, wearing her usual confident smile. Her red lipstick matched her heels. She walked straight to Adrian's cabin, holding a file. "Good morning, sir," she said cheerfully. These are the reports you asked for. Alitrian looked up at her. For a moment, he said nothing. He just studied her face, the face that had looked so kind last night, but so different when she thought no one was watching. Good morning, Sophia, he replied slowly. You're early today, she smiled proudly. I always am, sir. You know me. Work comes first, he nodded. Yes, I know you. Her confidence grew. Sir, I was also thinking, she said, opening the file. If we expand the project overseas, I can lead the team. I'm ready for bigger responsibilities. Her voice was full of ambition, the kind that sparkled but also burned. The hidden game Adrian kept his expression calm. That's good to know, he said. But tell me, Sophia, how much is loyalty worth to you? She blinked, confused. Loyalty, sir? Yes, Adrian said softly. If you had to choose between money and honesty, what would you choose? Sophia laughed lightly. Sir, both are important in business. He leaned forward, his eyes sharp. But what if you could only choose one? Sophia looked down for a second, pretending to think. Then she smiled again. Money can buy everything, sir. Even loyalty. Her words hit him like a knife. Adrian nodded slowly. I see. She didn't know that her answer had just confirmed everything he already knew. The trap he decided to push the test further. All right, Sophia, he said, opening a drawer. He took out an envelope and placed it on the table. Inside this, there's something valuable. I want you to deliver it to my friend, Mr. Raymond, this evening. Don't open it. Just hand it to him. Understood? Sophia's eyes flickered with curiosity. Of course, sir. Handed it to her. She smiled and walked out confidently. As soon as she left, Adrian pressed a button on his laptop. Another hidden camera had just been activated, this time in the parking area, the real face hours later. Sophia reached her car. She sat inside, looking around carefully. Then she opened the envelope. Inside, she found a small gold key and a folded note. The note said, "Trust is more valuable than gold." She only saw the key. She whispered, "A safe key. Maybe it's for his personal locker." Her mind raced with greed. She smiled and hid the key in her purse. That night, she went back to the mansion. Pretending to check on him, she waited until everyone was asleep and then sneaked into his study room. She used the gold key to open a small drawer. But instead of money, she found a paper, a single sheet with bold letters. "You failed the test, Sophia." Her face turned pale. Behind her, Adrian's voice echoed from the darkness. You see, loyalty can't be bought. He stepped out from the shadows, calm but disappointed. Sophia's lips trembled. Sir, I can explain, he raised his hand. You already did, Sophia. With your choices, tears filled her eyes. Please, sir, he turned away. You may leave your ID at the reception. And with that, her world of dreams collapsed. That night, as she drove away in the rain, Adrian stood by the window. Looking down at the city lights, he whispered softly, 1 down. 2 more to go. But deep inside, he wasn't angry. He was only sad because every test showed him how rare true loyalty really was. Asterisk 2 days passed after Sophia's fall. The office was quiet, but inside Adrian Cole's mind, a storm raged. He had seen how quickly ambition can kill trust. Now, he wanted to see how beauty and charm would behave when faced with truth. The invitation that evening, he sent a message to Emily Hart, the glamorous social media model who called herself his close friend. He typed calmly, Hey Emily, feeling sick since the party. Can you come over tomorrow? Need some help? Within minutes, she replied with 3 heart emojis and a voice note. Oh no, poor you. Of course I'll come, Adrian. Don't worry, I'll take care of you. But as she spoke, she was already fixing her makeup and planning her next video. To her followers, every moment was content, even someone else's pain. Adrian read her message and smiled slightly. He knew exactly how this test would work. The setup the next morning, he made his house look like a scene of sickness. Curtains closed, lights dim, medicine bottles scattered on the table. He sat on the sofa in a simple t-shirt, pretending to be weak and tired. Hidden cameras were ready again. One in the corner, one on the shelf, and one in the hall. Mia helped arrange everything before leaving for her cleaning rounds. She did not know who was being tested this time. She could see sadness in his eyes. Emily arrives at exactly 11 a.m. Emily arrived in a bright pink car. She walked in wearing designer glasses and holding a phone mounted on a mini tripod. "Hey, babe," she called cheerfully, turning the camera toward herself. "Visiting my sick friend, sending good vibes." Adrian pretended to wake slowly. "Emily," he said weakly. "I feel so dizzy." She rushed to him with a smile that was half real and half for the camera. "Oh no, you look terrible," she said, touching his forehead lightly for a second. "Do you mind if I record a little get-well message for my followers? They love you." He closed his eyes and nodded weakly. Emily stood beside him and recorded, "See guys, even when you're rich and busy, health is everything. Take care of yourself." After the video, she placed her phone down and looked around the room. Her eyes stopped on a small jewelry box on the table, half open. Shining faintly under the light, temptation, curiosity took over. She lifted the box slowly. Inside lay a silver watch and a pair of gold cufflinks. They belonged to Adrian's late father, the only things he truly valued. Emily's fingers trembled slightly. She looked at Adrian, his eyes still closed. Then she whispered softly, "Just borrowing them for a shoot? He won't mind." She slipped the watch into her handbag and zipped it shut, but as she turned around, the hidden camera caught every second. "The pretend goodbye, Adrian," she said loudly. "You need rest. I'll send you some vitamins and soup." Her voice was sweet as sugar. He opened his eyes slowly. "Thank you, Emily. You really care for me, don't you?" "Of course I do," she said without hesitation. "Friends are forever?" She kissed the air near his cheek, picked up her phone, and walked out. The door closed softly behind her. Adrian sat up straight. His hands were cold, his heart colder. He had hoped she would be different. He was wrong again. The reveal that evening, he called her. "Emily, I need you to come back. I can't find something important." She returned in an hour, still smiling. "What did you lose?" He pointed to the table. "My father's watch." Emily's face froze for a moment. Then she laughed nervously. "Oh, that old thing? I was just keeping it safe for you." Adrian pressed a button on the remote. The TV screen lit up, showing the video from the hidden camera. Emily's smile vanished. Her hand shook as the screen showed her slipping the watch into her bag. "Emily," he said quietly, "you didn't come for me? You came for the show." Tears welled in her eyes, but no words came out. He walked toward her and took the watch from her bag gently. "You could have been a friend," he said. "Instead, you became a lesson." She covered her face and ran out of the room. The weight of truth. Adrian stood alone, holding the watch against his heart. It felt heavy not because of gold, but because of betrayal. He looked up at the camera and whispered, "2 tests, 2 failures."
Outside.
The rain started again. Thunder rolled in the distance. Somewhere in the dark corridor, Mia was quietly cleaning, unaware that her turn was coming soon, and her choice would change everything. The sky outside was gray, the air heavy with silence. Inside the mansion, Adrian Cole sat alone in his study, staring at the screen. The 2 videos, Sophia's greed and Emily's betrayal, played side by side. He didn't look angry anymore, just tired. He had tested brains and beauty. Both failed. Now, only one person remained, Mia, the maid. He whispered softly, "Let's see if kindness still exists." A simple soul. Mia had worked in the mansion for almost 4 years. She was quiet, humble, and never crossed her limits. She came early, cleaned every corner, watered the plants, and always left with a gentle smile. To her, Adrian wasn't a billionaire. He was Sir, a good man who sometimes forgot to eat. She never asked for anything more than her small salary. While others dreamed of fame and luxury, Mia's dream was simple: to take care of her sick mother, who lived in a small village far away. Adrian knew all this, and that made this test harder. He didn't want her to fail. The plan that evening, he called Mia to the living room. His voice was weak, his steps slower than usual. "Mia," he said, "I'm not feeling well again. I need to rest. Could you stay a little longer today?" "Of course, sir," she said quickly. "Don't worry, I'll take care of everything." He nodded and went to the sofa, pretending to be dizzy. Soon, he acted as if he had fainted, lying on the floor again, just like the first night. His watch, wallet, and ring were on the table, waiting like bait. Then he closed his eyes, the camera light blinking red once again. The moment of truth, Mia gasped when she saw him fall. "Sir!" she cried, rushing to his side. She touched his forehead warm, his pulse slow. "Please wake up, sir," she whispered. Her voice shaking, she ran to the kitchen, brought a glass of water and gently tried to make him drink. Some spilled on his shirt, but she didn't care. Then she grabbed her phone and called the doctor. "Please come fast," she begged. "My boss fainted. I think he's very sick." After the call, she sat beside him and held his hand. Her eyes filled with tears. "You work too much, sir. You never rest. Please, you can't leave us like this." She noticed his wallet and jewelry on the table, but didn't even look at them. Her only focus was on him. Then she saw his blanket lying far away. She got up, covered him carefully, and placed a small pillow under his head. Finally, she whispered a short prayer, tears running down her cheeks. "God, please help him. He's a good man." The surprise, a few minutes later, Adrian opened his eyes slowly. "Mia," he said weakly. "What happened?" "Sir, you fainted. I called the doctor. Please don't move." He looked around, pretending to be confused. "My wallet. My watch." Mia frowned. "Everything's here, sir. Don't worry. I didn't touch anything. You need rest." Her voice carried no fear, no greed, only care. He smiled softly. "Thank you, Mia." She shook her head. "You don't have to thank me. You've always been kind. It's my duty." Those words hit him deeper than any lie he had heard before, the hidden truth later that night. After the doctor left, Adrian sat in his study watching the new footage. There she was, panicking, crying, praying for him. Not once did she look tempted. Her eyes showed nothing but pure concern. He leaned back and closed his eyes. "Finally," he whispered, "the world still has good hearts." Then he wrote something on a small note and placed it inside an envelope. A gift from the heart. The next morning, when Mia arrived for work, she found the envelope on the table with her name on it. She opened it slowly. Inside was a letter and a key. The letter said, "Dear Mia, yesterday you didn't pass a test. You taught me what kindness means. This key is for your new home. It's yours and your mother's. Thank you for reminding me that humanity is not dead." Mia's hands trembled. Tears fell on the paper. She covered her mouth. Unable to speak. Behind her, Adrian stood quietly. Smiling when she turned, he said gently, "You were the only one who stayed true when everyone else failed." Mia cried and bowed her head. "I didn't do anything special, sir," he smiled. "That's what makes it special." And in that moment, the billionaire who had tested the world found his answer. Real wealth is not in gold or fame. It's in a heart that stays pure even when no one is watching. Asterisk. Morning light poured through the wide glass windows of the mansion, painting everything in soft gold. The storm of deceit had finally passed, leaving behind a strange peace. Adrian Cole. The billionaire, once broken by betrayal, stood quietly in his living room. His eyes looked different now, no longer tired but calm. The cameras were gone. The lies were gone. All that remained was truth. Today he had called all three women, Sophia, Emily, and Mia, to meet him. None of them knew why. The gathering at exactly 10 a.m., Sophia arrived first. Her face looked pale, her smile nervous. She had been jobless for days after Adrian's dismissal. Still, she hoped maybe he had forgiven her. Emily came next, glamorous as always, but with eyes that showed fear. She had lost thousands of followers after rumors spread that she had stolen from a friend, and then came Mia, dressed simply. Her hands shaking slightly, holding a small bouquet of white flowers. They all sat in silence. The air felt heavy. Adrian entered the room slowly, holding a remote in his hand. He looked at them one by one. "Good morning," he said calmly. "Thank you for coming," no one replied. The revelation: Adrian pressed a button. The large TV screen behind him flickered on. First came the footage of Sophia stealing cash and the credit card. Her face turned white. "Sir, he raised his hand. "Don't speak yet." Then came Emily's clip, laughing, recording videos, slipping his watch into her purse. Tears rolled down her cheeks. "Please, Adrian, it wasn't again," he stopped her. Finally, the third video played, Mia kneeling beside him, calling the doctor, praying for him. Her voice trembled on screen, soft and pure. When the video ended, the room was silent. The only sound was the faint ticking of the wall clock. Adrian looked at them, his voice steady. "I didn't do this to humiliate you," he said. "I did this to find out if loyalty still exists in a world blinded by money." He turned toward Sophia. "You wanted success, but success built on greed never lasts." And to Emily, "You wanted fame, but fame without heart fades faster than light." Finally, his eyes softened as he faced Mia. "And you, Mia, you didn't just pass a test. You reminded me what being human means." Mia lowered her head, her eyes full of tears. "Sir, I only did what was right." The reward: Adrian smiled gently. "Exactly. Doing right, even when no one is watching, that's what makes you special." He handed her a small velvet box. Inside was a simple gold necklace with a tiny heart-shaped pendant. "This is for you," he said. "Not for loyalty, but for love. The kind that expects nothing." Mia's hands trembled as she held it. She had never owned jewelry before. Sophia and Emily watched silently. Shame filled their hearts more than any punishment ever could. Adrian looked at them and said, "I forgive you both. But remember, every choice we make shows the truth of who we are." Sophia nodded, crying. "I understand now, sir." Emily whispered, "I lost more than a friend that day." He nodded. "Maybe now you'll learn to value the right things." A lesson later, that day, after they left, Adrian walked into the garden. Mia followed, carrying tea for him. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. He said softly, "You know, Mia, I used to believe loyalty was dead." She smiled. "Sometimes, sir, good hearts hide in small places." He looked at her and chuckled. "You're wiser than most billionaires I know." They both laughed quietly. The wind moved gently through the trees. Carrying away the bitterness of the past, Adrian took a deep breath and whispered, "Maybe I needed to lose faith to find it again." It's the ending that night. In his diary, he wrote, "I tested 3 hearts, one driven by greed, one by fame, and one by love. Only love stood firm. Money can buy comfort, but not character. Kindness is the only true wealth." He closed the book, turned off the light, and looked out at the stars. Somewhere, he hoped, his late father was smiling, proud that his son had finally understood what wealth really meant. And in that quiet mansion, filled with golden silence, one truth glowed brighter than all riches in the world. The richest hearts are those that stay kind, even when no one is watching.